Okay, in these presentations, I am going to present on the topic concept, definitions, its origins, evolutions of the equity law. Now, at first, the basic concept of the equity law. Here, equity law, it doesn't have a precise meaning. We have to see its origins and evolutions from the Roman law, English law, East India Company, whatever they have administered equity principles in the administrations of the law and order, and in our Hindu or Mohammedan law, all this we have to refer about the origins and evolutions of the concept and definitions of equity. We have to see all around these developments. That is, now here the origins of equity, the very idea of it is a synonymous with fairness and justice. Here, equity is the means where the law and its administrations are made to approximate as closely as possible to the ideal of justice. Here, equity, it is a means by the principles of this equity law, where whatever the ideal justice can be achieved, that is, through the authority, through the proper administration of justice. That is the equity principles. Here, there have been three manifestations of it. It means there have been three. That is the afferent, clear, and plain meaning of the origins of the equity law, equity principles. That is, here, at first, there is justice and reasonable interpretations of law. At first, there is justice and reasonable interpretations of the law. That is, here, the provisions of the law, the provisions of the ordinary law, it must be interpreted logically or with the heavy conscience. That is, it should not be grammatical interpretations. It should not be exact the provisions of the law, whatever written, whatever enacted in the statute. This is the first afferent meaning, that is, justice and reasonable interpretations of the law. And secondly, there is the need to temper the law in its applications to the individual case. A characteristic of law, except in the rarest cases, is the generality, and yet this may produce in the special case as a result which conflicts with man's ideas of justice, which law should endeavor to fulfill. And here, these principles, it states rarest of the rare cases. That means in which the ordinary provisions of the law, if it is inadequate, if it is insufficient to dispense justice to the parties, to the litigants, then the judges and authority, that is the court or that is the judiciary, they have to exercise these principles of equity based on the conscience, based on honesty, based on the honesty, based on the morality, and based on the uprightness. It is here. This is the second afferent, clear and plain meaning. Why equity law? It is necessary. And thirdly, there is the need to supplement the shortcomings of the law. Here, the third manifestations, that is the clear meaning, plain meaning, why equity is necessary, is that here there should be supplements to the shortcomings of the law. Here, the provisions of the ordinary law, it may be shortcomings, that is, in some cases, that is, in these cases, here the equity principles, that is the justice based on the honesty, morality, and conscience, it may be exercised to the litigations, to the proceedings of the court. That is the third manifestations of these equity principles. And we have to see the definitions of the meaning which the Hindu lawgiver did is. Here, according to many Hindu lawgiver, here he says that any body of rules existing by the side of the original civil law, founded on distinct principles and claiming incidentally to supersede the civil law by virtue of a superior sanctity inherent in those principles. The many, he said that these principles equity, it remains support of the ordinary civil law. And in case of the inadequate of the provisions of the ordinary law, here these equity principles, that is the base of the conscience, honesty, morality, here this must be superior, this must be given superior sanctity in the dispensation of justice. Here the many, who was the Hindu lawgiver, he provides about this. This quotation has been given by the many. And the term equity, it has been used in three different senses. We have to see, that is, here in the first sense, it means morality, honesty, and uprightness, it is. And in the second sense, equity refers to the principles of natural justice, it is, which terms the fixed rules of law, it is. Natural justice, whatever we quote, that is the all the parties, they have been given some proper scope for a hearing, that is concept of the hodie alteram partem, nobody can be condemned with the unheard, it is, and parties to the suitor proceedings, they may be summoned they may be produced to the court, they can be given chances to defend their own litigations. Principles of the natural justice. And in the third sense, equity consists of a set of fixed rules. That is, it is well formulated set of rules. And these equity principles, it consists of the with some distinct fixed rules. That is, based on the honesty, based on the morality. That is, based on the conscience of the justice. It is here. Here, these three senses we have got, and now in England, that is, in England common law, here equity develop distinctly and separately from the common law. Here in England, this equity concept, equity principles, it had been developed distinctly and separately from the common law. That is, here it had its separate jurisdictions and was administered by the chancellor, and he was guided by the principles of natural justice. The governing principles of the early jurisdiction was the conscience. Here in England, we had seen that the equity principles, it had been developed by the chancellor. Here, this chancellor was the chief of the king's secretaries. If the parties to the litigants, if they are not satisfied, if these parties are not satisfied with the justice of the ordinary common law courts, then the aggrieved party, there had been made petitions, appeal to the chancellor, who had been exercised the judicious power and discretionary power of the king's secretaries. That is, here, whatever this chancellor, he had been administered justice based on his judicious power, based on his discretionary power, based on the honesty, morality, uprightness, natural justice. Whatever he had been dispensed justices. With this, some custom had been developed based on the this equity principles law, giving justice to the parties who are aggrieved with the ordinary common law. That's why in England, the equity law, that is the equity principles, it had been developed distinctly and separately from the common law. That's why these equity principles, it had been developed by the Court of Chancery. That is called the Court of Chancery because the chancellor of the chief of the king's secretaries, he had been exercised these principles and the dispensation of justice. Okay, and now in our India, that is in our Indian legal systems, here there never had been any separate equity court, but a number of principles of equity and justice have been incorporated in the substantive law of the land. In our Indian system, there is no separate code of chancery. There is no separate code of equity. But the provisions of these equity principles, it had been incorporated in our substantive law. That is the whatever the statute enacted by the legislatures. It may be state legislature or it may be union legislature. Substantive law of the lands. Here we have seen these principles in the Indian Contract Act, in the Transfer of Property Act, Indian Trust Act, Indian Succession Act, and the Specific Relief Act. In this substantive law, in this statute, in this Indian statute, our Indian legal system incorporated the principles of the equity law. That is, here now nature and scopes of the equity law. Here nature and scopes of the equity law. It is here. It is difficult to give a specific statements on the scope of equity, but to quote Aristotle. Here Aristotle, he says that equity is the corrections of the law, where it is defective on account of its generality. Aristotle also said that here, whatever the equity principles, that is, it is the corrections of the law in adequacy. If the ordinary provisions of the law are inadequate, are defective, in these cases, these principles of equity law, whatever based on the conscience, honesty, morality, and uprightness, this will correct the provisions of the ordinary law. Aristotle also said about this. And now, here, and indeed, equity came to safeguard and promote the interests of justice against the rigidity, defects, or deficiencies of the existing law in the state, and to achieve this end in the generality. Extended its scope in supplementing the common law in the following three respects by enforcing. Here, now we have got new rights, new remedies, and new procedure. Now, with the help of these equity principles, now in the administrations of justice, we can obtain new rights, new remedies, and the new procedure. It is here new rights. That means equity has enforced rights which the common law courts fail to enforce. Yeah. Now the new rights with the help of equity law. That means whatever the court of common law, whatever with the ordinary common law, the rights which could not be enforced, now it can be enforced with the help of the equity principles. That is equity law. That's why we can obtain the new rights. That is with the supplement of these equity principles. And secondly, new remedies. With the help of these equity principles, now we can obtain the new remedies which the ordinary common law they did not provide. That is. Now the concept of the UV just IV remedial, where there is a wrong, there is a remedy. This concept we can enforce in the present context. That is. That means where there is legal damage, where there is legal damage, where there is unlawful act and unlawful wrongs to anybody. They have right. They can enforce whatever the damages for these legal damages. Whatever the remedies for these legal damages. Now, that's why you got that. Where there is a right, there is a remedy concept. Now we can obtain the new remedies, that is, with the help of the equity principles. And thirdly, now we got the new procedure with the help of the equity principles. Now we can obtain the new procedure. Here, new procedures. Here, in the ordinary code of common law, they did not give some scope to the defendant side, to the respondent side, for defense their rights. That is. Yeah. Now, with the help of the equity principles, based on the principles of the natural justice, based on the principles of the honesty, morality. Now the respondents or the defendants, they can produce evidence, they can defend their rights, whatever the plaintiff they have claim, they have filing suit against such defendants or respondents. That's why with the help of the equity principles, now we can obtain the new procedure. That is the nature and scope of the equity principles. With the development of equity principles, now we can obtain this scope. That is, here we have to see the development of the equity law in Roman law also. These equity principles, it has been some origin concept in the Roman law. It is here, before the introductions of equity in Roman law, here all the religious and temporal powers were confined in the hands of the monarch. That is, here in the Roman law, what it says, before the equity principle was coming, it was administered by the monarch. That means who are the sovereigns, who are exercise the head of the administrations. That is, they had only exercise the administration of justice. That is, there was no concept of equity principles. That is, whatever the head of the administrations, head of the Roman administration, they had been exercised. It was like the autocrat and it was like the dictator. That is, and they were the absolute judges of right and wrong. That's why whatever I have said, autocrat and the dictator, a head of the Roman administrations, they were the absolute judges of right and wrong. That is, now in the earliest period of the Roman law, there were 5 actions legis exonis. That is, Here, for the enforcement of all civil rights. That is, here, the jus civil was strictly followed, and all other technical requirements were freely examined before giving the judgments. There was no remedy for the wrongs. If they did not come under any of the recognized five actions. In the Roman law at that time, here they have confined their substantive rights within the five actions only. Whatever they have called this five legis actionis. Whatever the wrongs, whatever the damage comes under these five actions, then only the parties they can enforce these rights. But in other circumstances, they could not enforce the rights. That is, here, if they did not come under any of the recognized five actions, they could not enforce the rights. Thus, the law was rigid, formal, and arbitrary. That's why whatever the Roman judges at that time, before the coming of the equity law, they had been administered in the administrations of justice. It was the rigid, it was the formality, and it was the defective, and it was the arbitrary. That is. Now, these equity principles, it had been introduced in the Roman law by the praetors. By the praetors. Praetors means Roman administrative official. That is a high civic or administrative official. Roman administrative official, that is the praetors, they had been introduces the equity law in the Roman law. That is, here the process of introduction of equity in Roman law started on the appointment of praetors in 366 BC. That is, here, who were the chief judicial magistrates of the Roman Republic. Here, and these praetors were the chief judicial magistrates of the Roman Republic. That's why these are the high civic or administrative officials. These were called the praetors in Roma. That is, here these praetors were called upon to discharge the duties of the supreme judicial head of the state. And together with these duties, to them was transferred the undefined supremacy over law and legislation, which always attests to ancient sovereigns. And to these praetors, whatever the undefined, whatever the undefined supremacy over the law and legislation, this power is given to the praetors. That is the high administrative officials of the Roma. That is, and they having plotted with extensive powers to modify or change the laws, began to exercise their jurisdictions by means of formulas, which means written statements made after ascertaining the exact points in controversy. Here, these praetors, they have the right by assessing the controversy, subject of controversy, by ascertaining this, they can enact the law and they can administer the justice. That's why we have clearly got that after the appointment of the praetors in Roman law, new concept of equity principles it had been developed in Roman. That is. Now, equity under the Indian legal system. Here, in our Indian legal system, equity principles, it is not a separate branch of law. It is incorporated in our substantive law, in our statute itself. That is, here, these equity principles we could see in the Hindu law also. Whatever they, at the moment of the ancient Hindu period society, whatever they written in the Srimiti's text, that is, yeah, at that moment, whatever the conflict between the two Srimiti's texts, here the Hindu lawgiver, that is, they had been exercised. Justice based on the good conscience. Justice is based on the reasoning. It is. Here we could see this concept by the definitions of the many definitions of the Josna Balako. That is. And in Mohammedan law also we could see the principles of the equity law. Here in Mohammedan law also the principles of equity are clearly noticeable. Here Abu Hanifa, the founder of the Hanafi sect of Sunnis, expounded the principles that the rule of law based on analogy could be set aside at the options of the judge of a liberal constructions or judicial preference to meet the requirements of a particular case. It is in Mohammedan law also it is clearly visible about the rules of equity. Here they had also been using the liberal constructions, that is the interpretation of the law based on the conscience, based on the reasonings, based on the morality, moral uprightness. It is. That's why we could say that these principles in our Indian legal system also we could see in the Hindu law also and in Mohammedan law also. That is. Now, in the statutory recognitions in our Indian legal system of these principles of equity. It is. Here, statutory recognitions of the principles of equity is founded in the Specific Relief Act 1877, the Indian Trust Act 1882, Indian Succession Act 1925, Guardian and Wards Act 1890, Indian Contract Act 1872, and Indian Transfer of Property Act 1882. Here, in Specific Relief Act, the provisions of the Specific Relief Act regarding the injunctions, specific performance, cancellation, rectification, and rescission etc. Recognize the principles of equity to a large extent. Here we got in the Specific Relief Act, the equity principles. And in Indian Trust Act, the rules contained in the Indian Trust Act 1882 are substantially the same, which were administered at that time by English courts of equity under the name of justice, equity, and good conscience. Here we got in Indian Trust Act 1882. Here equity principles are given, statutory recognitions. That is, and Indian Contract Act. Here Here, there are certain equitable doctrines which have been imported in the Indian Contract Act, and some of the important doctrines relating to generality to the law of contract are the doctrine of penalties and forfeitures, stipulations as to time in a contract, equitable relief on ground of misrepresentations, fraud, and undue influence. Under these provisions, yeah, the concept of the equity principles are given statutory recognitions in our Indian Contract Act. And in Transfer of Property Act, here the Transfer of Property Act has also included many doctrines of equity originated in the Code of Chancery in England. Here we could see in the Transfer of Property Act, in case of the mortgage, that is, once a mortgage, always a mortgage, that is, and the doctrine of elections, doctrine of performance, and doctrine of feeding, the estoppel, subrogations, right of redemptions, equity of redemptions, clock on redemptions. Here, in so many provisions of the Transfer of Property Act, here, principles of the equity law, it has been incorporated. That is, it has been given statutory recognitions in our Indian statute, in our Indian legal system. Okay. After this, today we have discussed the concept of the equity law, its origin, evolutions, in English law, in Roman law, in our Hindu and Mohammedan law, and in our statutory recognitions in our Indian statute. That is, up to this, we have discussed a clear concept about the equity law, equity principles, how it had been developed in the entire world and in our Indian legal systems. Okay, that's all we have discussed today. Bye. Stay at home, stay safe life.